What's up, fight world? This is DROD'S Man Boxing. You know, I want to talk to you guys about this matchup against Felipe Pena and Gordon Ryan. So first of all, let's just say that both guys showed that they were good. Gordon Ryan was exceptional. He had great takedowns. Just like I said in my previous video, I felt like he was the better wrestler. He proved tonight that he was a better wrestler. And he had great sweeps. He had great everything. Felipe Pena, on the other hand, had a great guard. Gordon Ryan had a very difficult time passing the guard. A lot of people say, well, why didn't he could have just, he was just playing with them and he wanted to take them to the deep waters. No. He genuinely tried to pass the guard. He tried to get chest to chest, but Felipe did a great job framing and preventing him from being able to get his position. He was not able to pass the guard. Now, can we agree on a few things? Number one, can we agree that Gordon Ryan had great takedowns? For Felipe Pena and Gordon Ryan's fans, can we agree that those were good takedowns? Could we agree that Gordon Ryan almost took Felipe Pena's back off of a wonderful sweep? Could we agree on that? Can we also agree that Felipe Pena was exceptional in preventing Gordon Ryan? He was not panicking. He was calm and cool. He prevented Gordon Ryan from taking the back. Can we all agree on that? Can we also agree that Gordon Ryan would have passed anyone else's guard that night except for Felipe Pena? Felipe Pena did a wonderful job framing and preventing Gordon from getting in his position. Can we agree on those things? Gordon Ryan would have never spent 40-something minutes trying to pass someone's guard. He would have just passed it and played with him like he did with Jacob Couch and Pedro Marina and everybody else. He wasn't able to do that this night. Can we agree on that at least? I feel like we're so caught up in this. We're trying to identify, like I believe a lot of people have a lack of identity. They don't know who they are as people, as men, as women. And so we spend a lot of time trying to identify with certain groups, certain people, certain skin colors, certain religions, because we don't know who we are. And that has blinded us as humanity that we can't even sit back and watch a match and just agree on two people equal talents. And this is where I'm getting at. The fight was good, but it was bizarre in that Felipe Pena had to quit at the end. We saw him go to the judges table and he was having a conversation. There was only a few people in the room who knew what was happening. That was Gordon Ryan and Felipe Pena and those at Flow Grappling. They were the only ones who knew. Gordon Ryan lifted his hands up for a reason because he knew what was happening. What we found out was that in the wake of the tragic death of Leeandro Lo, for those of you guys who don't know who he is an exceptional Jiu Jitsu fighter, who won Worlds this year, who won ADCC. He is a legend to the sport. He was in a nightclub at a show. Some guy goes by the table, grabs his bottle off, they get in an altercation. Leeandro Lo takes him down. Instead of being a weaker man and pounding his face in, breaking his arm or putting him to sleep, he held him down until people came and broke the fight up and they separated two. The coward gets up, gets a gun and shoots him in the head after losing the fight to a man who could have hurt you and he didn't hurt you. He was an off-duty police officer of all things, a person who should have had the most restraint. He pulls the gun, he shoots Leeandro Lo. Leeandro Lo is Felipe Pena's good friend. So much of a friend that when I watched the podcast with him and Boucher and Flow Grappling, he talked about Leeandro Lo as being a good friend. So this is a legit situation. He was legit friends with Leeandro Lo. And so now your good friend dies, not just die, murdered. Within 24 hours, you wake up the day of your fight, man, my friend died. The emotional roller coaster that he had to have been on. The adrenaline's pumping, but your adrenaline is mixed with sorrow, confusion. I can only imagine what he could have been going through psychologically and emotionally. He posted on his Instagram, there was only 2 posts he made, and that was about Leeandro Lo. He didn't mention nothing about Gordon or his fight. which tells me his mind wasn't even focused on that. Even on his story, it had nothing to do about Gordon that at this moment. It was all about his friend that had died. His friend was murdered, people. He gets in there, he calls Flow Grappling, he says, listen, I can't do it. And Flow Grappling says, the show has to continue. Now, I want to address this issue because a lot of people are tough on Flow Grappling because they're saying, oh, they're selfish and they should have postponed the fight. Let me explain to you guys, because a lot of people don't have businesses. You don't understand how business work. To run a business, it takes risk and it takes money. It takes capital. Once they pay for the venue tells Flow Grappling, it gives them a list of dates of when they're able to have the event. They pay them. A lot of cash is paid up front, right? They have fighters coming in from Brazil, from all over. Those fighters paid to get there. They also have to pay them. They have a lot of things riding. For them to postpone a fight, it's going to cost them a lot of money. It just is. Money that they probably will not be able to get back. Money that could probably cost them. You don't know what it could probably be a make or break situation. You don't know. You don't know how much cash they have on hand, real assets, and they have to put this money up for the event. So I understand why they could not postpone it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand from a logical standpoint why they couldn't have done it. It's not like they're some horrible human beings that slave drivers that's forcing you to do something. They had no other choice. You understand? Within 24 hours, that is everyone's paying. People paid their tickets to come see the fight. It's just something that you cannot do. And unfortunately, Felipe Pena had to go out there and compete. He requested that the fight be dropped down to 1 hour. And maybe if they have the fight later so he can just get back on the plane and go home. Gordon Ryan declined that situation. He mentioned that in his own interview. So in other words, this is a true story. This is not something being made up. Okay? Here's my issue with everything. My issue is that people started to boo Felipe Pena. Everyone's on Flow Grappling. They're talking about how he's a coward. He's this and that. I can't even believe that people are saying those things. I can't believe it. I cannot believe that that we have reached a point in society that we have lacked so much humanity that, number one, this guy kills a man for no reason. Over a bottle, you kill a man. And now you guys are criticizing a man for grieving. I mean, we can land space shuttles on the moon, but we can't figure out how to have empathy for somebody. It's the most ridiculous things in the world. We have electrical vehicles now. We got vehicles that can fly in the sky, but we can't figure out how to treat people with humanity. We can't understand why somebody grieve. Oh, well, you know, it's called mental fortitude. Mental fortitude. Again, I competed. I in a fight, I got kicked in my crown. The crown broke off into my gums, went deep down in my gums. Broke off, it was chipped off. I continued to spar. I competed in it. I got punched in the face multiple times. I kicked. I was in pain. I went home. I was in so much pain. I wouldn't expect you to do the same thing because everybody's body's different. If I cut my hand, my scar is not going to look like some people. You got black people, you cut their scar, they develop scars. I can't think of the name of the scars at the moment. It's a type of scar. Everyone bruised differently. Everybody cuts differently. Everybody grieves differently. Everybody's point of view is different. What's important to certain people is different. Do you understand? To some people, it's just a jiu-jitsu fight. To other people, to Gordon Ryan, it's his life. It's who he identifies as. Felipe Pena is probably thinking, you know what, this is not that important to me right now. I don't understand why we as society, given all the issues that we are talking about these days about mental health, and yet we see somebody grieving, we don't have the common courtesy or grief to say, you know what, this is a topic I'm not going to touch on. This is something I'm not going to even mention. You know what, this is something we're just going to let go. Let's agree that Gordon Ryan was the better fighter that night. Hands down. He was the better fighter. And let's just move on from there. We don't need to go any further. Oh, he would have been different if he would have won the fight. Probably would have. He probably would have been excited. He probably decided, I dedicate this to my friend Leeandro. But what difference does that make? Oh, he was faking because he was tired. You know what? At this point, I can't prove it. Out of respect to a man that was murdered, let's let it go. Why can't we do that? Why can't Gordon do it? Why does Gordon have to be on Flow Grappling, going down the comment sections, commenting on random people's posts because he wants to prove that he was the best fighter in the world? Bro, you are right now the best fighter in the world. It's not another human being that's right now proven to be better than Gordon Ryan. I can't deny that. He has 2 ADCC championships. He has accolades that we cannot, there it is. But why do you have to prove? Why can't you just let it go at the moment? Why can't the fans let it go? Why does people have to? Why is it that Flow Grappling posts an interview of Felipe Pena and he's breaking down in tears? You can clearly see the man is hurt, breaking down in tears, but yet we still asking him questions about Gordon Ryan. I don't understand.
I mean, what do you want to talk about first? A lot of stuff has been going on. What do you want to talk about first here?
Man, nothing, man. I just want this rematch. You, Flow Grappling, I went to Flow Grappling today and said I was not feeling to fight. And you guys told me if I don't fight, it would be really bad for the event. And I understand, you know, you guys did everything to this match happen. And I really appreciate you guys. But I should not do this fight, you know. I was not mentally prepared today to do this fight.
How much do you think the mental side? Because I mean, you look good out there. You went 40-something minutes with him. How much do you think the mental side messed you up?
I am crying the whole day, you know.
Yeah.
One of my best friends just died. He's like one guy really special, you know. And yeah.
It is what it is. Gordon Ryan took him down. He swept him. I could visibly see that Felipe Pena was not in his right mind. Just the way he approached the fight. Just the way when Gordon Ryan pulled guard, how hesitant he was. He approached it very weirdly. Not the same way he approached it back in 2017. It was different. I can see that he was not mentally there. Oh, but he quit because he was tired. Do you understand what an emotional dump is? Do you know what an anxiety attack is? Do you know what a panic attack is? I could talk to you about these things because I have them. Anxiety and panic attacks. For years, I've had mental fortitude. I considered Michael Jordan was the best athlete, and I wanted to live up to that hype. I fought with toothaches. I fought with bad backs and neck pains, hurt knees. I remember when I broke my ankle, I drove myself to the house. I refused to admit that my ankle was broken. One day I snapped my ankle and I competed a sparring session with it. I remember these days, fought with a broken tooth, had my tooth kicked out, I spit out and kept on going. I had those days. But guess what it proved? Absolutely nothing. It was worthless. It's meaningless. According to the Bible, it's just it goes away. Once you die, nobody's going to remember this anymore. It goes on. Nobody remembers what the legendary training session you had. Nobody's going to remember my fights in Mexico. Nobody cares. Mike Tyson was the greatest fighter, was a superb fighter. But guess what? 100 years from now, it's just going to pass on. People move on. There's got to be something in life that's more important than life itself. And for you, you got to decide that yourself. But for me, man, it's just, to me, I can't understand how sick people are as individuals. Where are we at as society that we cannot understand that Felipe Pena and Gordon Ryan is two different people? Gordon Ryan fought after his dad died. That's Gordon Ryan. Felipe Pena is a different person. Let's accept the fact that he's hurt and let's move on. Can we do that? Right? If you want to have some sort of consolation, Gordon Ryan fans, okay, he was the better fighter that night. Move on. I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't really know Leeandro Lo, but as a person who's a father, as a person who is a human being that bleeds, I hurt for him and his family and his kids. I hate to see it happen. I hate to see people die. I hate to see people get hurt. There's some things in life that's just not that important. And for me, jiu-jitsu is not that important where we can forget about humanity and forget about hurt people. This is DROD'S MMA Boxing. Leave a comment in the bottom and let me know what y'all think about the situation. Let's do our best to try to be respectful to each other and restore honor to martial arts and just treat each other with dignity. Peace.
Mais uma vez, campeão dos GPs da Copa Pódio.